Hello, you're listening to Lockdown Lessons with me, Tasnim.
And me, Esther. We're wellbeing practitioners from IAP services in the South West London and St George's Mental Health NHS Trust. For the past 175 years, our trust has been providing inpatient and community mental health services to its local residents.
For all of us, 2020 has been a year like no other. Life has been full of uncertainty, and it's not always been easy to cope.
In this podcast series, we'll be talking all about how to take care of our well-being during the current pandemic and beyond.
Welcome to Lockdown Lessons. Hello, you're tuned in to episode 4 of Lockdown Lessons. I'm Tasnim.
And I'm Esther. So this episode, we're going to be talking all about exercise and mental well-being. So we're delighted to be joined by a very special guest, Bernard Mapfumo, who is a fellow wellbeing practitioner at Merton Uplift and also a personal trainer at Nuffield Health. So welcome to the show, Bernard.
Hello, everybody.
So before we get into today's discussion, as we'll be talking all about physical activity, I thought we could talk about what our favourite activity was during sports day.
I guess looking back in my youth days, and the things that stood out to me on sports day were, sack racing, and having to jump in line. That was always difficult. You see people falling over, rolling over. It's just, it was hilarious.
What was your strategy for the sack race? Because I felt like the sack race was the epitome of the whole thing, and as a personal trainer, I'm assuming you had a strategy for the sack race.
Well, I didn't have a strategy, to be honest. The strategy was to, just jump as further as you can without falling over. That was the strategy, keep jumping till you get to the end, really.
I mean, that's a good mantra for well-being, really, isn't it? Just keep going. Just keep jumping.
Definitely. I really enjoyed the egg and spoon race. It was just such a simple activity, but the pressure was definitely there. And you really had to focus. And you're still trying to watch if other people are getting ahead of you and still trying to maintain that focus. I just really loved it. The pressure was everything.
Yeah, when you're 5, that pressure is too high, isn't it?
Exactly. What about you, Esther?
Well, I've never been very sporty and I've never been very coordinated. I used to kind of chat through PE was my kind of strategy. My dad said that he remembers me in a running race and I was not doing very well, but I was really trying. And then I saw my dad and I was like, oh, hi, Dad. And he was like, no, keep going, keep running. And I just went over. Hello. And he was like, finish line's over there, Esther. You just come over for a chat. I mean, that sort of ended my sports career, really. But I liked it. I did enjoy it. It was a different day, wasn't it? Everyone could be involved. It didn't matter if you were brilliant at sports or not. And I think the question is how we can bring that into adulthood with us, whether that's involvement, regardless of ability, just trying something, having fun with it, even if you're not very good at it at first. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the pressures were whether or not you'd break an egg. So... that does change, doesn't it? So I guess, we're recording this at the beginning of 2021 and we are in London. We are in another lockdown. We've been here before, haven't we? But here we are again. So Bernard, how have you coped during both lockdowns and what's helped you cope?
The first one was a lot harder. I found it hard to adjust. I didn't have that routine, didn't have the discipline. I lost control of my diet and I lost control of my sleeping habits. I lost a bit of control in terms of exercise and that was really difficult. I managed to turn the tide by realizing that I was putting on weight. So for me, that was the first sign that, I could feel around my waistline and I really wasn't comfortable with that. And I realized actually you got to start doing something. So it was a lot harder because I'd left it for so long, but it was just putting one foot in front of the other, so I just went back to basics, made sure I was having a lot of greens in my diet. So it wasn't just carbs and protein, it was just, okay, now you got to put some broccoli on there. Then I started trying to make sure that am I drinking enough water, so it was all those little basics that I really had to try and focus on. So once I could do that, I could focus on actually, you need to get out of the house, go for a walk, do some mindful thinking, let me start doing things. How's my room looking? Is it tidy? How's the kitchen looking? How's the microwave? All those little things. So you start slowly but surely being active, consistent little things. Another thing that was really important to me was just family. I started really reaching out to people that I didn't really have time to talk to, when you're busy and stuff. Lockdown, I had a lot of time on my hands. So, I started really building a great relationship with my parents. And even now, I still speak to them every day, something I never used to do, So it's things like that really that help me and are helping me currently during my lockdown.
I think that's really, really good advice. So much felt out of control in the first lockdown, so much uncertainty that almost makes it seem like the little steps, what impact are they going to have when all of this is going on? But actually, the benefit of the small step, whether that's, am I drinking enough water? Am I out of bed before this time? No effort is wasted, even if it feels like a real mountain to climb.
Yes.
So Bernard, obviously you are a personal trainer. So I just wanted to kind of tap into your experiences of exercise and what is it about exercise that helps you so much? For some people, it's kind of the feeling after a workout. For some people, it's the results that they see after, consistent effort. What is it for you that kind of keeps you going and helps you in regards to exercise?
For me, I think I'm one of the lucky ones because from when I was younger, I've always played sport. I don't even remember how I started playing sport for me. I started playing sport when I was a baby. I play cricket, I do swimming, football, rugby, you name it, darts, the full works, So it's always been not difficult for me to just get into that rhythm, because if you've been lucky enough to do something from young, it becomes natural. Becomes really a lifestyle from early on. But of course, it's always difficult to maintain that. I guess for me, it's that I've been able to persevere and be consistent. There's been times I look at my teens when, okay, I didn't really have that drive. You think to yourself, well, should I carry on doing this? And there's been times where I've backtracked and not been active. But then you realize actually your health is dipping. You don't have that stamina. You think to yourself, what's really happening? I used to be a lot fitter than this. I've realized that actually, if I put in the work consistently, I'm going to reap the rewards tomorrow. Return on investment of your health. All throughout my life, it's always been a battle with being consistent in terms of, physical activity. And you start thinking to yourself, actually, something needs to change. Of course, it was a struggle in my teens when I got into my mid-20s and I was at uni. I didn't really have the time. But all throughout my life, I've managed really to get back to basics and think to myself, actually, it's a return on investment of your health. That's all you're doing. You're working not just on the outside, but on the inside.
Of course, we know that regular exercise has many psychological and emotional benefits. Is that something that you can say, you've personally experienced, or even as a personal trainer, I'm sure that you've worked with many clients. Is that something that they notice when they're kind of consistent with their exercise and their routine and things like that?
Yeah, 100%. There is loads. We could do another podcast on just, the physical, the psychological and emotional benefits towards physical activity. There's loads. But for my personal experience, and as I've been a personal trainer, I've never given anyone or had a session myself and that person told me they felt bad after the session, or I've trained and I felt terrible. I thought, no, I don't feel good. No way. I've never felt that. You always feel good. It's like having a to-do list, having some chores and think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. After you've done those chores in the household, you feel good. You don't feel bad. Bringing it back to physical activities, I mean, there's loads of benefits, and I'm just going to reel them off quickly. Like I say, there's many, but just off the top of my head, there's things like reduction in health risk factors, such as reduced risk in cardiovascular diseases, reduced risk in type 2 diabetes, reduced risk in a metabolic syndrome. It may lower the risk of some cancers as well. and improves your chances of living longer. Increased metabolic rate. This is the rate at which your body burns calories. It decreases the risk of falls, incorporating balance, coordination, muscle strengthening activities, which can improve your motor skills, and that's reducing the risk of falls. Bone health improvement, resistance training, and it can really slow down the loss of bone density that comes with age. Physical activity can help with weight management. It burns more calories and it increases muscle mass, all which are key to weight loss and weight maintenance.
There's obviously so many benefits. And as you say, that kind of return on investment, thinking about any movement, any activity, whether that's washing up, whether that's watering the plants, whatever's possible for you, that there will be a return on that. I mean, for people who are kind of stuck indoors and they're quite, restricted by, say, a long-term condition, or maybe they've just learned about a new diagnosis and they don't know what they can and can't do, what's something that they can do inside their house that's quite kind of maybe low impact, but could be a good starting point?
There's probably a lot of things that you can do within the household without even, getting outside. If you can do a little thing such as squats, where you're sitting on the sofa and focusing on standing up and back down, focusing on pushing from the heel, back up and back down. At least you've got the comfort of being able to sit back and sit back up. If you can do that 100 times, if you can do that 10 times to start with, walking up the stairs, up and down, you think to yourself, well, if you've got some stairs, you can just keep walking up. You can do simple things such as seated wall squats. So put your back against the wall, get into a seated position and hold that position, So there's so many things that you can actually do. And as you mentioned earlier, it doesn't necessarily have to be an exercise. You can actually do your daily chores. That's being active. That's the whole point, of just keeping the body moving, stretching your muscles, just being active around the house, hoovering the carpet, sweeping the floor, doing your washing. Is the kitchen nice and tidy? Those are really the essentials of life, Once you can manage doing that and you think, well, what's the next step? Do some mindful walking. Take a step, go outside, take a walk. It doesn't have to be a run. You can't just think, oh yeah, I'm going to start running if you're not even practicing a bit of mindful walking, So once you can do that, walking up and down, getting that fresh air, mindful of your breathing as well. That's really another important thing. It's similar to meditation, but being in control of taking your deep breaths in, holding it, and breathing out. Once you can really control how you breathe, you'll find you can start controlling, your body movements, your reactions, the way you're thinking. Once you can control what you do within the body, then you can have peace of mind, even though you can't control everything else that happens around you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Because I think it's always, as you said, it's baby steps. And to get for that to be possible, it's starting from where you are rather than sometimes where you wish you were, which, from well-being perspective, it's easy to do, isn't it? To just start from a place where I wish I was there. Why am I not there anymore? I can only do this. But actually what you can do is very powerful in getting you to the next step. So I think that's some wonderful advice. And I guess my next question is how to get started and how to stay motivated, because I will confess that I have been known to get on my activewear, sit in it for like 9 hours, then open up my laptop and play a HIIT workout 15-minute video, and I watch it. I haven't done it. I've watched it. And then I text my friend and I say, I'm watching an exercise video. Does that count? So if anyone listening has done that, don't feel guilty about it. You're not alone. But sitting in my activewear is obviously not getting me where I need to be. So my question is how to get started and how to stay motivated.
Okay, so my advice would be figure out what's stopping you from being physically active or exercising. If you feel self-conscious, for instance, you may want to exercise at home. If you stick to goals better, maybe if you got a partner, as I always say, people go to the gym or people do activities. It's a lot better when you got a partner, or find a friend. I know these times of being able to get close to another person, you can still have a workout with one person, from a different household. As long as you maintain that social distancing, you can push each other, you can challenge each other, you can motivate each other. It just feels better when you got someone with you. If not, identify what you enjoy doing. Figure out what type of physical activities you're most likely to do, and think about when and how you'd be most likely to follow through and be consistent. Talk to your doctor or mental health professional for guidance and support. Discuss an exercise program or physical activity routine and how it fits into your overall work life, or lifestyle. Set reasonable goals. Your mission doesn't have to be walking for an hour 5 days a week. Think realistically about what you may be able to do and begin gradually. Don't think of exercise or physical activity as a chore. If exercise is just another shoot in your life that you don't think you're living up to, you will associate it with failure. Rather, look at your exercise or physical activity schedule the same way you look at your, for example, therapy sessions, for example, eating times, for example, drinking water times. Look at it as something that you do. It's part of your life. It's a staple. It's your bread and butter.
Tasnim, look out, because basically what Bernard's saying is that we should be exercising together. So get ready.
So just quickly touching on when someone has maybe started a new routine, how do they know how much is enough? So I guess starting off is one thing, but then once you're in that, how do you know this amount of exercise is enough for me? Does it vary person to person? Is there a set amount that we should all be aiming for? As a personal trainer, I guess you're the best person to ask.
To be honest, the important thing is to start. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. The second most important thing is consistency. Once you've got those two things, for me, that is so fundamental. Because even if you did the same thing for 6 months consistently, you will see results. Yeah, so that's the most important thing. Yes, we can say 10 minutes. I train for 2 hours every night. So it varies with a lot of people. For me, the most important thing is have that consistency. Have a plan of things that you're going to do. So tell yourself, actually, I'll do 1, 2, 3 things for the next 8 weeks. And those 3 things will take you about 10 minutes, between 10 and 15 minutes. Once you can be consistent with that, then you can move on to adding more things that will give you a duration of 30 minutes or more of exercise 3 to 5 days a week. And it may significantly improve things like, how you may be feeling during lockdown, things like depression and anxiety symptoms. It's just a small amount of physical activity, as less as 10 to 15 minutes a time, may really make a difference. It may take less time to exercise to improve your mood when you're in more vigorous activities, such as running, or getting on your bicycle. So sometimes when you really get out of breath and you really get your heart rate up, you find you really be feeling good after. Mental health benefits of exercise and physical activities may last only if you stick with it over long term. So it's another good lesson to find activities that you enjoy, because these benefits, like I said, the return of investment is not straight away. It never is. It's going to be later on. But the important thing is you have to be consistent with what you set yourself to do.
And I think for that reason, it's probably very important to set yourself goals that are realistic for you, because I think it's really easy to maybe compare ourselves to someone else. And, as you said, you work out 2 hours every night, and that's probably impossible for someone like me, but it's about doing what's manageable for us. So yeah, thank you for sharing that really, really useful advice.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think, like, when you said the return on investment thing, I was thinking about, with a bank, when you get your pay slip through and if you put a bit of it into your savings account each time, you don't really reap the benefit of that. You can't do anything much with a tenner, but over the course of the year, if you do that every time, you'll then have a sum of money that you can put to something. But that, as you say, good things take time.
That's right. It's like what a lot of us are doing at the minute. We're paying into our pension pot. You can't take that money out right now. But once you reach a certain age, you're good to go. You're getting it all. It's coming back. So you got to think, if you have that mentality, that you're not necessarily thinking, I want the results now. I want to see what's going to happen now. I want that body shape now. But what is really going to make you feel good on the inside mentally? Mentally, you will start feeling good before maybe you start seeing the physical attributes. You start toning up, you're a bit more confident with your body shape. But the reality is it will take time, which is why it's so important to focus on the little things, baby steps, one foot in front of the other. Don't look back, look forward, keep your head up, stay positive. Sometimes it will feel like, I'm just being all repetitive, it's all boring. Keep going, keep plucking on. Sometimes we'll have great days, sometimes not. But what's really important, stay the course, stay focused. And I promise you, it will be so good for you tomorrow.
Definitely. And as you said, important to just start. I ended up cycling in lockdown, actually. And the thing for me that helped was having a destination, because at the moment, for so many of us, there's no destination to when we go out.
Yeah.
Destination is home. So we just do a loop. So I would try and set like a destination. And then you didn't realize that you'd done any exercise because you're just going from A to B.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing a loop, just getting home again, I'm like, I've just gone out to go home. So, we're not able to go and see that friend for dinner or go and visit your nan as much. So how can we put in those destination points where then you feel like you've gone somewhere as well? Yeah. And then you don't really realize that you've actually upped your heart rate, you've sweated a bit. But, it's, as you say, just starting is the key. So I have a bit of a scenario for you. So imagining that there's someone who, and they could be listening, or someone might be listening who knows of someone who's in this sort of circumstance. There's someone that's really worried about how they're going to pay their rent next month. Maybe they've just been made redundant and they're worried about going outside, maybe perhaps in case they catch the virus. What would your advice be to them in terms of how they can approach exercise and mental well-being?
Yeah, well, it's just more or less going back to what we've been discussing during this podcast. As I said, it's always at the fundamentals of physical activity or life in general, well-being. It's just, back to basics. It's always back to basics. Those are always the essentials. Those are the things that will see you through, when times are good, when times are bad, and when times are just in the middle. It's really getting back to that frame of mind where you can focus on your breathing. Little things like be mindful of your breathing. Am I in control of my breathing? When my heart rate's up, can I still control my breathing? Put yourself through that test that, once you can start controlling your emotions like that, then you can figure out maybe making the next step. And as I said, eat well plate. Am I eating healthy? Once you're putting good food into your body, which is your temple, you're going to be able to do more from that just by being able to do that. Drinking enough water. Those are the fundamentals. The body's made up of 60% of water. So it's something that the body really needs. It's a necessity. It's something that you don't think, I'm just going to drink Lucozade and I'm sorted. No.
That's a shame.
Those are the things that are really important. Once you're eating, you're drinking enough water, sleep. Sleep is so important. Get enough rest so that you've got energy to wake up and you've got that spring in your step. You feel like already you want to do more. So those really are the things that are really important. Once you can do those things, then physical activity, the third but least important thing, becomes so easy because you've got the energy. Your mindset is good to go. Those things really are the things that people need to focus on.
So thank you so much, Bernard, for sharing your tips with us today. I guess one thing that I've really taken away from everything that you've said is just starting off small, starting with the little things and doing the things that feel manageable for us. I think sometimes we can set ourselves unrealistic expectations or goals, and then we find it hard to achieve, and it can get into a negative kind of cycle from there. So I hope that those of you who have listened to today's episode feel motivated to start off small and do things that feel manageable for you. So thank you so so much for joining us, and we'll be back with the last episode of Series 1, where we'll be talking to another special guest all about how to maintain your well-being as a parent throughout lockdown.
Due to the current climate, we are holding one-to-one telephone workshops and online group sessions.
We offer a wide range of wellbeing workshops to residents aged 18 or over who live in or have a registered GP in the boroughs of Wandsworth, Merton and Sutton.
If you're interested to find out more about the services that we provide local to you, please find the relevant information in the episode description.
We'll be back soon with a new episode. Until next time, take care and goodbye.